The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, when someone has a swelling or a scab or a bright spot on the skin of his body, that may become a disease infection, he must be brought to Aaron the priest or to one of his sons the priest. The priest must then examine the infection on the skin of the body, and if if the hair in the infection has turned white and the infection appears to be deeper than the skin of the body, then it is a disease infection. So when the priest examines it, he must pronounce the person unclean. Okay, so there is this, again, we get the idea of the being unclean as being sinful, and it's not. Bodily fluids can make somebody unclean. We've covered that. Whether it's blood, whether it's menstruation, whether it is from the man, discharge, those all make you unclean. Touching someone who's dead makes you unclean. Now we have disease that makes you unclean. So this is just not a normal wound. One of the signs that tell you that it's deeper, or one is to look how deep it goes into the skin. Is it just surface level? Another is to see, is there white hair in it? Like, I have so much white hair, I got to be careful now. I don't want to get a skin disease and have to go to the priest and show him, and then, okay. So the priests are going to be the ones. Why? Because it's about cleanliness. And the priest is the one who is going to keep the sacred space. So uncleanness cannot come into the sanctuary. Therefore, the priests are the ones who are going to oversee this. This is why we're going to teach one group of people to be the people who are going to oversee all of the inspections and caring for and protection of sacred space and protection of the sacred people. If it is a white, bright spot on the skin of his body, but it does not appear to be deeper than the skin and the hair has not turned white, then the priest is to quarantine the person for the infection for 7 days. So an entire week. We're going to see what happens. We're going under quarantine. The priest must then examine it on the 7th day, and if, and if, as far as he can see, the infection has stayed the same and not spread on the skin, then the priest is to quarantine the person for another 7 days. The priest must then examine it again on the 7th day, and if, if the infection has faded and has not spread on the skin, then the priest is to pronounce the person clean. It is a scab, so he must wash his clothes and be clean. If, if, however, the scab is spreading further, and the skin, after he has shown himself to the priest for his purification, then he must show himself to the priest a second time. Okay, the scab is spreading further on the skin after he's shown himself to the priest. Okay, if it spreads further, he's got to show himself to the priest, get examined a second time. The priest must examine it, and if the scab has spread on the skin, then the priest is to pronounce the person unclean. It is a disease. So the priest is going to see this. We have 7, the number of totality. We're going to quarantine for a total number of time. We're going to test it at that time. But if it's spread, it's disease, and you're already declared unclean. If it hasn't spread, we watch it for another 7 days, 14 days in total. And then if it's shrunk or hasn't spread, then it's not a disease that you are going to be unclean for. So that's what we have. The priests are doing this. And again, cleanliness is about being having access to sacred space and about being part of the community. It is not about sin. When someone has a disease infection, he must be brought to the priest. The priest will then examine it, and if, if a white swelling is on the skin, it has turned the hair white, and there is raw flesh in the swelling, it is a chronic disease on the skin of his body, so the priest is pronounced him unclean. So we have a different situation. This one is straight up. We can identify it. We don't have to quarantine. It's already spread. It's open. It's a wound. It's chronic. It's white. Well, the hair has turned white. That's a disease. You're unclean. The priest must not merely quarantine him, for he is unclean. If, if, however, the disease breaks out on the skin so that the disease covers all the skin of a person with the infection from his head to his feet, as far as the priest can see, the priest must then examine it, and if, if the disease covers the whole body, he is to pronounce the person with the infection clean. Wait. Did I miss something there? Sometimes I miss a word in there. Okay. If, however, the disease breaks out on the skin so that the disease covers all the skin of the person with the infection from his head to his feet, as far as the priest can see, then the priest must examine it. And if the disease covers his whole body, he is to pronounce the person with the infection clean. That doesn't make sense. What, like, it sounds like it covers him from head to toe. He's unclean. You shall pronounce the infection clean. Also, this is the use of the declarative PL. Okay. If, however, the disease breaks out on the skin so the disease covers all the skin. Okay. I'm confused in that. It sounds like he's covered from head to toe, but you're being declared clean. He has turned all white, so he is clean. Okay. So if it's gone his entire body and everything is white, the infection is totally over and he's clean. Okay, there we go. But whenever raw flesh appears in it, he will be unclean. So if you're covered from head to toe in whiteness, you're not infectious, you are clean. If you have raw flesh, you are unclean. So the priest is to examine the raw flesh and pronounce him unclean. It is disease. If, if, however, the raw flesh once again turns white, then he must come to the priest. The priest will examine him, and if the infection is turned white, the priest is to pronounce the person with the infection clean. He is clean. So when we have Jesus healing leper, here are the instructions of going to the priest, showing yourself to the priest, and being declared clean. That's part of what Jesus is dealing with when he cleans people and he sends them away to go to the priest. When someone's body has a boil on its skin and it heals, and in the place of the boil there is a white swelling or a reddish white bright spot, he must show himself to the priest. The priest will then examine it, and if, if it appears to be deeper than the skin and its hair has turned white, then the priest is pronounced the person unclean. So it could start as one thing, but it could turn into something else. It is a diseased infection that has broken out in the boil. If, if, however, the priest examines it, and there is no white hair in it, it is not deeper than the skin, and it has faded, then the priest is to quarantine him for 7 days. If, if it is spread further on the skin, then the priest is to pronounce him unclean. If is an infection, but if, if the bright spot stays in its place and has not spread, it is the scar of the boil, so the priest is pronounced him clean. Again, we can start as one thing. You're going to the priest. You're testing to see. Now, what's interesting is they wouldn't have had Sharpies back in the day, but they could have used charcoal on some level. Like, think about this. They could have used, and I don't know if the priest did this, but you could have taken, and like they do with a Sharpie, they'll do this with, at the hospital, with an infection. They'll draw a line around a person and then watch it to see if it spreads past that line, then they know the infection is spreading. They could have perhaps used charcoal to mark you, put something that's dark that would mark where it's at, and then see if it grows. Otherwise, you're just trusting somebody's memory to say, how far was it? What are they doing to mark it? How far it was? Don't know. But anyway, this is the procedure for infectious diseases. And it's interesting that it is constantly, if the hair turns white inside of it, that is a giveaway of the disease, that the hair has died of some kind or is not getting nutrition, I guess would be another way of thinking of it. When a body has a burn on its skin and the raw area of the burn becomes a reddish white or a white bright spot, the priest must examine it. And if, if the hair has turned white in the bright spot, and it appears to be deeper than the skin. It is a disease that is broken out in the burn. The priest is to pronounce the person unclean. It is a diseased infection. If, however, the priest examines it and there are no white hairs in the bright spot, it is not deeper than the skin, and it has faded, then the priest is to quarantine him for 7 days. The priest must then examine him on the 7th day, and if, if it has spread further on the skin, then the priest is to pronounce him unclean. It is a disease infection. But if, if the bright spot stays in its place, has not spread on the skin, and it has faded, then it is a swelling of the burn. So the priest will pronounce him clean because it is the scar of the burn. When a man or a woman has an infection on the head or in the beard, the priest is to examine the infection, and if, if it appears to be deeper than the skin and the hair, and it is reddish, yellow, and thin, then the priest is to pronounce the person unclean. So we had our first change now. It's not white hair. It is reddish, yellow, and thin. So hair on the head and on the beard apparently are acting differently than hair on the rest of the body. Is scald a disease of the head or the beard? Scald. Never heard of that. Wonder what other... The exact identification of the disease is unknown. Dry scald, a scale, an itch, a contagious skin disease. For discussion of scald disease in the hair, which is a crusty, scabby disease of the skin under the hair that also infects the hair itself. Wow. You could go to this commentary, apparently. The Hebrew rendered scald is related from the verb to tear out, to tear apart. It may derive from the scratching or the tearing of the hair or the scale of the skin in response to the itching sensation caused by the disease. Oh, interesting. Okay, but if, if the priest examines the scald infection and it does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it. Okay, the other was reddish yellow. Now we have no black hair. The priest is to quarantine the person with the scald infection for 7 days. Okay, so there's no black hair. I think that just means your darkness of hair, which most people would have, black or brown, Middle Eastern hair. Not a lot of blondes or redheads. The priest must then examine the infection on the 7th day, and if, if the scald has not spread, there is no reddish yellow hair in it, and the scald does not appear to be deeper than the skin, then the individual is to shave himself, but he must not shave the area infected by the scald. That's interesting. So you're going to leave the infected area there and shave around the other area of it. The priest is to quarantine the person with the scald another 7 days. The priest must then examine the scald on the 7th day, and if the scald has not spread on the skin, and it does not appear to be deeper than the skin, then the priest is pronounced him clean. So, as we were talking about, how do you identify where it ends? You shave the hair around the spot. I don't know if that's like you shave the whole beard or you just shave around the spot or you just, I'm not sure. It says shave the hair, you shave the beard. So I think you're marking off where it is so you can see if it spreads. The priest must then examine the scald on the 7th day, and if the scald is not spread and the skin, and it does not appear to be deeper than skin, the priest will pronounce him clean. So he is to wash his clothes and be clean. So it's interesting that after these occasions where you are unclean, you wash your clothes and are clean. It doesn't say wash yourself. It's wash your clothes. If, however, the scald spreads further on the skin after his purification, then the priest is to examine it, and if the scald has spread on the skin, the priest is not to search further for reddish yellow hair. The person is unclean. If, as far as the priest can see, the scald has stayed the same, and black hair has sprouted in it, the scald has been healed. The person is clean, and the priest has pronounced him clean. So we've got ways in which they can identify and be restored by being clean. When a man or a woman has a bright white spots on the skin of their body, the priest is to examine them. And if the bright spots on the skin of their body are faded white, it is a harmless rash that is broken out on the skin. The person is clean. Okay. One of the things, why do we have so many details here? Because this is the manual on how to do these things, the instructions for all of them. When a man's head is bare so that he is balding in back, he is clean. So just in case you're balding, you get lost some hair, you're still clean. Balding is not a disease. If if his head is bare on the forehead, so that he is balding on the front, he is clean. But if if there is a reddish white infection in the back or the front balding area, it is a disease breaking out in his back or front bald area. So balding isn't the thing you're looking for. It is the reddish color of the skin, things that are happening there. Hey, Queen, thank you for the lurk, friend. The priest is to examine it, and if if the swelling of the infection is reddish white in the back or the front balding area, like the appearance of a disease on the skin of the body, he is a diseased man. He is unclean. The priest must surely pronounce him unclean, because he has an infection on his head. As for the diseased person who has an infection, his clothes must be torn. His hair of his head must be unbound. He must cover his mustache and must call out, unclean, unclean. All right, we got ads coming. So ukulele, your thought was, if it's balding on the sides of the head, then there's likely disease in there, because that's an unusual thing. That's interesting. And you're saying you see more on the, saying, I'm not sure what they mean the front. Like, here's the back of the head, which is a spot that a lot of people will go bald. And maybe they just mean the front. Like, here's the back, here's the front. They might just go back and front instead of saying top. But I don't know, like, this whole area is often, we'll start and we'll go through the whole thing, and you might have a few, or you get comb overs. Nowadays, there's more people just going with the shave it if you lose it versus go with the comb over, which older generations did the comb over. Like, hold on to that hair and make it do what it can do. All right, so we left off, though, with the person, and now here's the things they're to do. They're with their clothes are to be torn. Their hair must be unbound. So you just, like, let your hair loose. Like, you just let it go and cover his mustache. What is this? And his head shall be unbound, and he shall cover on his mustache, tearing one's clothes, allowing the hair to hang loose rather than bound up in a turban, and covering the mustache of the upper lip are all ways of expressing shame, grief, or distress. Okay. So I knew tearing the clothes did. So in other words, you're letting your hair loose. You don't have a turban on your head. You're not putting a turban to hold your hair in place. You're no hat. You're just letting it all hang out. But the covering, how would you cover? I do not know how to cover. Like, I guess, like, is that how you cover the mustache? You put a mask on, or do I roll it and do this? No, I don't know what I'm supposed to do to cover the mustache. That's just weird. All right. Anyway, I need a vacation. Unclean. I wonder if everyone ever just yelled that just to get left alone. I don't think they probably would have. I like the idea of people yelling unclean as they walk outside. Yeah. There's something about that. But again, this is shame of being unclean. You're going to be shunned from society. You can't engage. And if you're yelling unclean and you didn't go to the priest, people are going to know that, like, you can't just go claiming unclean unless they're far away and they can't see you yet. You know, if they know who you are, you can't play that game of being unclean. The whole time of his infection, he must call out unclean the whole time. He will be continually unclean. He must live in isolation, and his place of residency must be outside the camp. So the camp gets set up. Remember, they're wandering in the desert. They're going to be going into the land, but even so, you're outside the camp. You can't stay within the camp. If you have an infection, you go outside and you yell unclean when people come by. When a garment has a diseased infection in it, whether a wool or a linen garment, or in the warp or woof of the linen or the wool, or in leather or anything made of leather, if the infection in the garment or leather or warp or woof of an article of leather is yellowish, green, or reddish, it is a disease infection and it must be shown to the priest. Okay, so now we're moving on to your clothing. Your clothing has something growing on it. The warp, vertical, the woof, horizontal thread. Okay, so it's vertical and horizontal thread of the garment. Did not know that. Maybe two different sets of thread not yet woven together, or they may refer to the two different kinds of thread already woven, in which case one might have the disease in it while the other does not. Okay, so it appears that this is either coming together to be woven, not fully done, or it is the garment and the two different threads. One direction seems to have it, the other doesn't. Okay. All right, so we also have leather. So it depends on whatever kind of thing is. The priest is to examine that and then quarantine the article with the infection for 7 days. Again, we're setting it aside. We're quarantining it. We're going to come back later. He must then examine the infection on the 7th day if the infection has spread in the garment or in the warp or in the woof or in the leather, whatever the article into which the leather was made. The infection is a malignant disease. It is unclean. He must burn the garment or the woof or the warp or the woof, whether wool or linen, or any article of leather which has been infected in it. Because it is a malignant disease, it must be burned up in the fire. But if the priest examines it and the infection has not spread in the garment or in the warp or in the woof or in the article of leather, the priest is to command that they wash whatever has the infection and quarantine it another 7 days. The priest must then examine it after the infection has been washed out, and if the infection has not changed its appearance, even though the infection has not spread, it is unclean. You must burn it up in the fire. It is a fungus, whether it is on the back or the front of the article. So you wash it and it doesn't change, and you wait another 7 days and it doesn't change. Now it is a fungus. We're going to burn it. But if if the priest has examined it and the infection has faded after it has been washed, he is to tear it out of the garment or the leather or the warp or the woof. So if it isn't infectious, we can remove that section. Then if if it still appears again in the garment or warp or the woof or in the article of leather, it is an outbreak. Whatever has the infection, it must be burned in fire. So we're going to remove the part that was there, and if it comes back in the garment that we have, or the article that's made, whatever it is, if it shows up again, it is an outbreak, and we got to burn the garment. We got to burn the article. But the garment or the warp or the woof or the article of leather which was washed and the infection disappears from it is to be washed a second time, and it will be clean. So we wash it to see whether it's clean, but it still needs to be cleaned or washed again in order to be clean. This is the law of diseased infections in the garment of the wool or the linen or the warp or the woof or any article of leather for pronouncing it clean or unclean. So we had disease in people. Now we have disease in your articles, your items, your clothing, and all of those.